The world has grown crooked, and if you intend to put it to rights, you'd better understand what happened to make it this way.
The Night of Black Knives is the most pivotal moment in the story of Elden Ring, the inciting incident of the Shattering, which marked Marika's fall and the collapse of the Golden Order. Due to the importance of this event, it is explained in depth through Ranni and Rogier's questlines, but there are some strange details surrounding this event that have bothered me since I first played the game. Why would the Black Knife assassins, who received their god-slaying weapons from Ranni, organize an assault on Caria Manor in an attempt to kill her and her followers after she reveals her intentions to slay her two fingers at the end of her questline? There's also the profoundly important description of the Black Knife armor, which states that the assassins are both scions of the Eternal City and all-Numen women with close ties to Marika herself. There's also an interesting piece of dialogue from the finger reader in Deeproot Depths, who laments,
"Oh, Lord Godwyn. Oh, my poor sweet lordling should have died a true death, as a martyr to destined death."
What would it have meant to be a martyr for destined death? Finally, Marika is stated to have betrayed Maliketh, but what was the nature of this betrayal? There is a deeper secret to the Night of Black Knives, one that can explain all of these mysteries. I believe that on that fateful night, the Black Knife assassins were acting upon Marika's orders, and that the Queen of the Erdtree wanted her son to die, a true death. But Marika's plan backfired when she was betrayed by her co-conspirator, Lunar Princess Ranni, when she performed a ritual at the moment of Godwyn's death. This story will reveal an answer to one of the most important mysteries in the lore: why Marika shattered the Elden Ring, plunging the lands into chaos. To understand the truth, we must first answer why Marika might have desired the death of Godwyn the Golden. While Marika as a character is deeply mysterious, there's a clear shift in the way she is characterized throughout the game's timeline, which we learn of through Melina, who recounts Marika's words in the various churches scattered throughout the lands.
Spoken echoes linger here, words of Queen Marika, who vanished long ago. If you wish, I will share them with you.
In the earliest days, when the Order was first established, Marika was ruthless, a conqueror, believing fully in her new order.
Put the giants to the sword and confine the flame atop the mount. Let a new epoch begin, an epoch glistening with life.
But eventually, it seems, she came to harbor doubts about the Golden Order.
In Marika's own words, I declare mine intent to search the depths of the Golden Order through understanding of the proper way. Our faith, our grace is increased. Those blissful early days of blind belief are long past. My comrades, why must ye falter?
Something shook Marika and made her begin to question her order. I believe what caused this shift was the end of the Age of Plenty. We discussed why the Age of Plenty ended, and the flaws within the Golden Order in detail in my video on the original sin, but the important takeaways are this. Marika sealed the Rune of Death upon the Golden Order's inception, making it so that her followers would be granted extended life through grace after consuming the Erd Tree's sap, which contains runes. The Erd Tree is a crucible tree which absorbs the runic life force of the dead, and the age of conquest and war during Godfrey's reign kept the Erd Tree well fed, allowing its sap to continue to pour. That is, until the Golden Order became absolute, and an era of peace was ushered in, ending the Age of Plenty. The original sin was the creation of an order which broke the normal cycle of life and death. After the Erd Tree stopped producing sap, Marika wished to investigate the depths of the Golden Order in an attempt to determine how it might be set to rights. However, by this point, the religion of the Erd Tree had become more about blind faith. Ironically, one of the leaders of this religious fundamentalist movement was her own other self, Radagon, whose characterization seems to represent Marika's initial absolute belief in the Golden Order.
My comrades, why must ye falter?
The fact that she seems to be imploring in vain to her comrades to search the Order seems to show that it was too late for change. The fundamentalism of the religion was too deep, and nobody was willing to question the Order, even for its own god. For we learn in the DLC, godhood is a prison. So instead, Marika was forced to plot in secret. There are many moving pieces to Marika's plan, which we will discuss in future videos. For example, the banishment of Godfrey and the Tarnished, or this dialogue where she speaks to her children.
Hear me, demigods. My children, beloved, make of thyselves that which ye desire. Be it a lord, be it a god. But should ye fail to become aught at all, ye will be forsaken, amounting only to sacrifices.
But the important takeaway for this theory is that Marika realized that the Golden Order was flawed, but her comrades opposed her wish to try and fix it, so she orchestrated plans in order to bring about the change she desired. As I have already stated, the biggest flaw within the Golden Order was the sealing of destined death. In my eyes, this is one of the main reasons Marika's plan for the Tarnish revolved around sacrificing a Finger Maiden to the Flame of Ruin, leading them to the Rune of Death.
The one who walks alongside flame shall one day meet the road of destined death.
She realized that an order of life without death was doomed to fail, causing an endless period of stagnancy which would wither away to eternity. And so, somehow, destined death had to be returned to the land. There was only one problem. Maliketh, the Black Blade, the death of the demigods, and the wielder of the Rune of Death. Marika's shadow was not to be trifled with, and his purpose was to keep death sealed, and to end all of those who wished to unleash its power. If Maliketh could bring death to the demigods, he may have even been a threat to Marika herself. Maliketh was a shadow-bound beast given to his Empyrean. Marika's sole need of her shadow was as a vessel to lock away destined death. Even then, she betrayed him. I believe this betrayal was Marika's involvement in the Night of Black Knives. But to understand why, we must first speak of the assassins who committed the deed. Scale armor used by the Black Knife assassins, forged to make no sound. The assassins that carried out the deeds of the Night of Black Knives were all women, and rumored to be Newmen, who had close ties to Marika herself. This is a pretty huge red herring, and not the kind of detail that gets included by accident. There's also the fact that Melina, who is the daughter of Marika, fights in the same style as the Black Knives. There is also an assassin posted outside of Marika's bedchamber, who based on her relaxed, seated position seems to be guarding the room as opposed to being there for any sinister purpose. For these reasons, I believe that before Godwyn's death, the Black Knives may have served as Marika's personal assassins. An important thing to note is that the Black Knives are described as scions, or in the Japanese, descendants of the Eternal Cities, as opposed to being Nox themselves. This is an important detail. Previously, the lore community has assumed that the Black Knives agreed to kill Godwyn because they, being tied to the Nox, wanted to strike a blow against the Greater Will. But if this was the case, then it would not make any sense why the Black Knives then attacked Ranni's followers when she goes to slay her two fingers, which is fully in line with the goals of the Nox. Instead, if we view the assassins as descendants of the Nox, who instead have allegiance to Marika, everything comes together. Their lineage tracing back to the Eternal Cities explains why they are an order solely of women, as the Nox are a matriarchal society with the Night Maidens holding the highest religious rank. It also explains where they gained their invisibility magic, which is tied to the town of Celia, home of the sorceress assassins which hunted their fellows. Their allegiance to Marika explains why their actions in the story seem to go against the goals of the Nox. So, now that we have established Marika's connection to the Black Knives and her desire to return death to the world, the next question we must address is how Godwyn's death might have furthered this goal. As the voices of the two fingers, finger readers are said to live lives eternal, and one is even supposed to have served as a wet nurse to royalty. This wet nurse could have been the finger reader in Deeproot Depths. So, with that in mind, this dialogue is a bit strange.
Oh, Lord Godwyn, such cruelty, such humiliation. Oh, my poor sweet lordling should have died a true death, as the first of the demigods to die, as a martyr to destined death. But why must it yet bring such disgrace? A scion of the Golden Bough, sentenced to live in death. How could such a thing come to be?
She doesn't seem to be lamenting the fact that Godwyn died, more so the fact that he did not die a true death. She even says he should have died. Well, this doesn't necessarily mean that she knows he was meant to die, as she could be saying that since he was murdered, it should have been a true death. It still does beg the question, what would being a martyr to destined death mean? Curse mark carved into the discarded flesh of Ranni the Witch, also known as the half-wheel wound of the centipede. This curse mark was carved at the moment of death of the first demigod, and should have taken the shape of a circle. However, two demigods perished at the same time, breaking the curse mark into two half-wheels. Ranni was the first of the demigods whose flesh perished, while the Prince of Death perished in soul alone. This is what caused Godwyn to live in death. A living body without a soul, spreading his fate throughout the lands between through the roots of the Erd Tree, giving rise to those who live in death. The wording here is extremely important. The curse mark should have taken the shape of a circle. Godwyn should have died a true death. There's a clear implication here that Ranni's ritual was not part of the plan. She betrayed the Black Knives, and by extent, Marika. The Mending Rune of the Death Prince states, rune gestated by Fia, the deathbed companion. Formed of two Halbrand half-wheels combined, it will embed the principle of life within death into the Order. The Golden Order was created by confining destined death. Thus, this new order will be one of death restored. An important thing to note is that Fia needs to grant Godwyn a true death in order for this rune to come into being. Essentially, Fia is completing the ritual as it was originally intended, combining the curse marks and killing Godwyn's body, granting him a true death. Ironically, just as Marika was opposed by her comrades who refused to question the Golden Order, the fundamentalist hunters view Fia as a reviled witch. despite the fact she is the only one actively working to stop the spread of Deathroot by killing Godwyn fully. But because she also wishes for those who live in death to be spared the Order's wrath, she is hunted. How easy it is for the learning and learnedness to be reduced to the ravings of fanatics. All the good and the great ever wanted, in their foolishness, was an absolute evil to contend with. Marika's plan was to grant Godwyn a true death with the full curse mark instead of only a half-wheel. He would have died in both body and soul and given rise to a rune, which would return, at least partially, destined death back to the world. By giving him an Erdtree burial with this full rune carved into him, this rune could be integrated back into the Elden Ring within the Erdtree. The true genius of this plan is that the full rune of death would remain sealed, meaning that the Erdtree would remain eternal, and leaving the rest of the demigods and Marika herself immortal. Perhaps most importantly, Maliketh would not turn on Marika, becoming a baleful shadow and a curse upon her. As to why Godwyn specifically was chosen to die, I think there are a few possible reasons. Remember, Marika wanted to bring about change, and during this time he was likely one of the strongest demigods, and the most likely to unite the lands and maintain the Golden Order. Godwyn's moniker as the Golden also implies he is a strong believer in the Order. In Norse mythology, which Elden Ring is heavily inspired by, Godwyn most clearly fits the role of Baldur, the god of light and beauty whose murder is the catalyst for Ragnarok, or in this case, the Shattering. Just as Godwyn previously defeated and made peace with the dragons during their siege of Leyndell, the Shattering War may have had a very different outcome, one in which the Golden Order maintained its dominance if Godwyn had still been in the picture. It's testament to Godwyn's power that he was chosen to be removed from the board before the game of chess even started. So, Marika's intention for the Night of Black Knives was to return death to the world without facing Maliketh's wrath, while also removing her biggest obstacle in enacting change. Her main accomplice in this plan was Lunar Princess Ranni, who was not shy about sharing her role in this event.
I see. Quite the sleuth, aren't we? Indeed, I am the witch Ranni. I stole a fragment of the Rune of Death and used it to forge the god-slaying black knives through fearsome rite. I did it all.
Ranni is the one who actually stole the shard from Maliketh and forged it into the weapons of Marika's assassins. But as we know, the plot did not end with a true death, and on that fateful night, the curse mark was split by Ranni so she could kill her body, severing the two fingers' control over her, so she could usher in a new age without their influence. For if the fingers guided Marika to create such a flawed order, they would surely sully any future order as well. This is why the Black Knives, despite being randomly spread throughout the lands, mobilize in force to attack Ranni when she reveals herself to the world at the end of her quest. She betrayed Marika, imprisoned their leader in an Everjail, and forced them to curse the world with Deathroot. They were given this task to mend the world, and Ranni instead caused them to break it further. If Ranni was justified in betraying Marika's plan and causing Godwyn to live in death, if the ends justify the means is up for interpretation, and something we will discuss another time. But one thing is clear. This is what pushed Marika over the edge. This plan was Marika's last-ditch effort to correct a flawed system, and because of Ranni's ritual, instead of returning death to the lands and revitalizing the Erdtree, and by extension, the Golden Order, Godwyn's body contaminated the Erdtree's roots and spread throughout the world, causing others to live in death. A ghost near the entrance to the death-touched catacombs states, "Unthinkable. Our hallowed resting place is violated. To refuse the Erdtree's call to return, to live within death? Sickening." Causing people to live in death had precisely the opposite effect that Marika wanted. Instead of providing more energy for the Erdtree through death, this fate renders one unable to return to the Erdtree and wander the land as a corpse. Marika's betrayal of Maliketh goes even further at this point when she curses him with an endless hunger for Deathroot, so he might correct her mistake and reduce its spread. He believes he is being punished for his failure, when in reality, he is being punished for Marika's.
Marika! Is this what it is to sin? Forgive me. The Golden Order cannot be restored.
Queen Marika was driven to the brink.
It was her final attempt to save the Erdtree, and it backfired spectacularly. This was the moment she accepted it was far beyond saving, and that a full upheaval, a new order, was required. So, she shattered the Elden Ring, hoping her other plans, her children or the Tarnished, would lead to something new, something better. Even while she did this, Radagon continued to oppose her plans, attempting to repair the Elden Ring and creating a wall of impenetrable thorns enchanted with his seal so that none may claim the Elden Ring, and bring about a new age. Clinging to the Golden Order despite it being far beyond saving. This is why, by the time our Tarnished receives the call to grace, the world has been stagnant for so long. The shattering war between the demigods ended without a victor, and while some came close, all of the Tarnished failed to take the mantle of Elden Lord. It is only us, a nameless Tarnished of no renown, who finally managed to circumvent the thorns. Even if he was wrong to try to save the Golden Order, Radagon's opposition to change and fear of the unknown future is at least understandable. For while we can choose to make the world a better place, we can just as easily decide to burn it all to cinders. I have an exciting announcement for the channel. I have been approved for the YouTube membership program. If you're interested in supporting the channel while also receiving some cool perks, consider becoming a member. Lower tier members get to see my videos early, receive badges, and have priority comments, whereas higher tiers also gain access to my extensive Elden Ring timeline Miro board, which you're seeing right now, which I use to organize my thoughts for each video. They also allow you to request topics for future videos and share lore theories through weekly discussion posts. All members will receive a shoutout at the end of every video. If this sounds like something you might be interested in, click the join button down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.